I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. Today I talk with Felix and Ashley Tokwepota from Papua New Guinea. They lead a church in Port Moresby, the largest city in the country. Felix and Ashley were both raised in the church and were baptized in 2002. Felix was born and raised in Papua New Guinea, Ashley in the United States. In this episode, they share how they became Christians, how they met, some of the miracles they've seen, what it's like leading in one of the world's most dangerous countries, and their plans for reaching one of the world's most diverse countries with over 800 languages spoken among a population of over 8 million people. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. I'm thankful for you. This is the week after Thanksgiving, but I want to say thank you to you for listening to the Rob Skinner Podcast. I really appreciate the support, the encouragement I've received. It's been a great couple of years in many ways, and one of the reasons is just being able to do this podcast, be able to meet people from around the world and to be able to hear from you, learn from you. It's been awesome. So I really appreciate that. I'm about to go to the Climb Small Church Leadership Conference this week, December 2nd through 5th, and I'm really pumped up about that. So I look forward to sharing with you how that conference goes. I'll probably do an episode on the conference and highlighting it, but please be praying for it and enjoy this episode with Felix and Ashley. Felix and Ashley, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob.
It is really, really awesome to have you guys on the program from Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. Let me just start by asking, how'd you guys become Christians? Why don't we start with Ashley?
So I grew up in Hampton Roads. My dad was in the military, and that was the last place that we actually moved. And my mom was reached out to by one of her coworkers, and I think I was in grade 1 or something. I was young, and we started going to church. And I am a Kingdom kid, so I grew up in the church. And I eventually studied the Bible and became a Christian. Actually, today is my spiritual birthday.
Wow, how many years?
November the 24th.
Congratulations. How long has it been since you got baptized?
It's been 19 years.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
Yeah. So it's really special.
Yeah, I'm also a Kingdom kid. My parents were converted, one of the first converts in the 90s, early 90s, when the church was planted here. And my dad was at the time searching for a church, and I came across, one of my uncles who was actually a disciple, invited him, and it was Mike Fontenot. Mike Fontenot was the guest speaker around that time. And so he came that Sunday, blown away, studied Bible, became a disciple a few years later. In 2002, that was the time I studied the Bible and was really convicted by the scriptures, and gave my life at that time. And so it's been also 19 years for me too as well, being a Christian.
So you guys were baptized in the same year, a world apart. That's crazy. Okay. How old were you, Felix, when you got baptized?
I think I was 14.
14.
Yeah, I think I was 14, yeah.
Okay. Now, how did you guys meet? Okay, you're over in Virginia. You're in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. I mean, how'd you guys ever cross paths?
So I was leading the church here. I started in 2015 as a single man. And then in 2016, Ashley was asked to come serve here. And so just a bit of that, you getting the glimpse already where when she came here, we started to do ministry. But I knew her back in Melbourne, like, she was there for a 1-year challenge. And so I knew her back then, and I knew that she went to serving also in Fiji, and then went back to the States. I was there for in Boston for a Global Mission Corps, something like that. It was hosted by the Boston Church, and I had an opportunity to go to Richmond and preach there as well. And I saw Ashley again. And so, prior to our meeting in Moresby, I knew Ashley. We kind of like just bumped into each other, talked, and just brother, sister, hello, how you doing? And then, but when I came back here, I found out that the next year she was coming, and she came, and we started to partner together and serve in the ministry. And then I think after a few months, it just went on from there, and we liked each other, and the same year I proposed and got married at the same time too. So
So I was doing a 1-year challenge, like Felix said. And I think the first time we met was at a campus retreat in Sydney. So I was in Melbourne doing a 1-year challenge with the Vasallos and the Camerons at the time. So when we went to the campus retreat in Sydney, I met him there, and it was just a very quick meeting. He was like this, he had dreadlocks, and was walking around taking photos. And it was just a very quick meeting, like I said, but we just kept bumping into each other from then on out. And then God brought us together again unexpectedly.
What was it that you liked about Felix?
Was it I liked about Felix? Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, at first neither of us liked each other prior to like that year. So prior to that year, we didn't really like each other. But then when I moved here and we were working together, I think just the natural friendship, the natural, I don't know, sometimes like girls get nervous really a lot around guys, but it was like I always wanted to be around him. I always wanted to spend time with him. And it was just this natural connection. And he was passionate. I love people who are passionate about what they're doing. And and he was doing it all alone. And this is, it's a tough thing to do, lead a church. And PNG alone is hard because women are dominant. They can be dominant here. So for him to lead both men and women by himself, it's a hard task to do by yourself. So.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the church. You grew up in the church. Sounds like it was started in the 90s. Can you tell me before COVID how big the church was, what kind of growth you'd seen? Just if you can give a picture for people of what was the church, how many churches are on the island, that kind of stuff. That'd be very helpful.
Yeah, so we have two local churches here established here. One in Port Moresby, which me and Ashley are serving here, and the other one in the Highlands in Gumini. And there's a brother there, John and Maria, they lead the church there. And so it's been when we first got on board, in 2015, we were roughly a membership of I think 80 disciples, and so and we just continued to do ministry at that time. And I think 2018 was the big year for us, because that's when we hit, like, we went over 100.
Wow!
Disciples. That was one of the biggest big highlight for us,
right.
In a while, hit that target. We've witnessed a lot of families restored. We've experienced even people getting baptized, and even within their families. That's always the beautiful story you want to hear in every conversion. families within families, and that will be some of the biggest highlight for us, and families, giving their life to Christ. But I think 2018 was the big one for us, where we hit over 100 disciples in, I think it had been for since 2011.
I see. So the membership had dropped, and then you got it back growing again.
Yeah, around that time, yes, that period. So
yeah, 2018 and 19 were
19, yeah.
Really good years for us before the pandemic. Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the impact of COVID on the island. Tell me, I know when I talked to you a few weeks ago, there had been a lot of deaths in the church. If you could just share a little bit about how the pandemic has hit your country.
Yes. Well, first of all, I mean, to be in a country that is, struggling economically, there's a lot of contributing factors to that. Not just as but yeah, just in everything. I think number one is the healthcare system. I think that was put to the test, and so that itself brought in a lot of panic, fear. So you don't really get the best treatment here, even in the nation's capital. So that one has been a big struggle, and just the facilities. We're very grateful. Even with the COVID, there is doubts within the healthcare system on the debate on vaccine, unvaccinated, vaccinated people. That's still an issue here. So all of these contributing factors, and then with the healthcare system really in its it's been put to the test even now. People are lying sometimes in the emergency ward, and now in the car parks. A few weeks ago we experienced that, even people dying in the car parks not because of the virus itself, but not getting what will I say, the treatment, the oxygen they need. So yeah, that was a bit tough. So you can think about the healthcare.
So when you
system.
say car parks, you're talking about like the parking lot of the hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
So we've experienced, even that case is there. So yeah, it's we are not in the position where even in the nation's capital, we're not in the position to we have very limited resources. So that makes it difficult, for each individual to give them the proper treatment, the care and the attention. So that makes it even difficult, and so you can imagine the panic and the fear and that is brought to the citizens, people, and they want to stay at home, locked up.
Right.
And then there's another extreme group who are anti-virus, anti-vaccine. They're out and about and still continuing their normal lives. So I think that would be my perspective.
Yeah, it's been I think in the church. I think one, I do think we have had the funds to do all these things, but they've been kind of misused or kind of disappeared. As far as with the healthcare system, like people are, obviously we have aids that, from Australia, from the US, from I think China, like we have money coming in, but it's just the money is kind of disappearing. But I think within the church, it's been challenging. Yeah, just this past month. I think it's kind of been the second wave. I think the first wave of COVID that came earlier this year, that kind of was showing more signs. Like I think we had it earlier this year, but it was kind of just mild. But now with the Delta and everything, we've seen a lot of impact in our close circles now. So, one of our campus guys, his father passed away. We had just met his father like 2 weeks before he had passed away.
Wow.
And But so that happened. And then like another disciple who I think Felix maybe had mentioned before, he was a disciple before, he passed away. And we had a disciple go into ICU, or not ICU, but he went into the hospital, and the oxygen is very low here. So there's not plenty supplies. So they kind of pick and choose who gets it a bit at the hospital. So that's why some people are waiting in the car park because there's not enough beds. So you have to wait until there's a bed available. There's not enough. There's just not enough beds and oxygen. So they kind of have to pick and choose who gets it first. And
wow.
So I think that's been challenging, I think, within the past month of the church, and being able to just be there for everyone at the same time has been difficult. I think overwhelming. I think Felix has felt overwhelmed a lot, probably more. So
you
kind of.
Are you meeting by Zoom? Are you meeting in person? What are you doing to cope with the pandemic and keep the church together?
Sorry, Rob. So we're still meeting in groups, and there are options available. And so I think the main issue is because of the health concerns. And so, the measures only allow us to meet 20 and below. It changes sometimes. Sometimes they put 50 below, 100 below, but for the next 2 months, it's 20 and below only. So we've advised the church, if you want to meet in groups, you can do that, but just make sure it's less than 20, or it's safe to have it 15 per household, and for those who are not able to meet physically, we have Zoom services. So you can meet online and just sing a few songs, a welcome, and I'll do a communion.
Right.
And that pretty much, yeah.
How many of the congregation have access to Zoom? Is it most people, or some, half?
No, only a few. I would say a quarter, maybe, not half, but maybe a quarter. But some disciples prefer to, they want to do house church. They want to meet together in small groups, and because not everyone here is in technology. Whereas in overseas, there is it's there and ready and available. Whereas here, not everyone is into like the internet, the social media. So, and we're very flexible on that. We allow them to meet in small groups, but at the same time, it's a bit of a risk still. But we try to just keep it within the measure and make sure that they're still abiding in the CDC guidelines.
So Ashley, did you say that both you and Felix got COVID earlier this year?
Yeah, we didn't get tested, but I had all the symptoms, like as far as like losing taste was the biggest clear factor that I probably had it. But we just stayed home during that time. And it was actually during that lockdown period that we actually went into a lockdown. So but it was very mild. And here we steam bath. So you like get hot water and you put some fragrance inside and stuff, and then that's what you do every day.
Okay. I got COVID last Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving here in the States this week, and I lost my sense of taste and smell for 3 months. And even now, a year later, it's not the same as it was a year ago. I mean, it's just, I'd say it's about 60 or 70%. I mean, coffee tastes totally different to me. Some things I can't smell or taste very well. It's funny. I mean, that was a surprising impact. And it's like, you never think too much about your taste and smell, but I'm glad to have it back. Did you get yours back relatively quickly, Ashley?
I got it back relatively quickly, but I had been reading like online, obviously, like, oh, some people didn't get back for like months. And I was so scared because the feeling of not having your taste and smell. It's just like you don't realize how much you need that and how important it is. And yeah, it was eating was not enjoyable anymore. So definitely, I can't imagine having it for longer.
It was a drag. Just so let's just say that it was a bummer. Okay, so let me ask you, what are some of the miracles you've seen during your time there in Papua New Guinea?
I can share. So I think our fellowship, that will be the biggest one. They're just the deep love and affection. It's such. I always say that our fellowship is that's one of our strengths here, and just the deep love, the genuine love for each other, and that's been the contributing factor for most of our conversions. They come here, it's very magnetic, and they love the fellowship. They feel like they're a part of. They feel like people know them for years, and so that I think for me as a minister, seeing this, just that brings so much joy. That itself is a miracle to see the love for each other, and to see it having an impact to the world, which reflects again to the words of Jesus. Your love for each other will show to the world that you're my disciples. So
Right.
that will be the big one. And then to see, even with our conversions, even some of the, there are some conversions, some stories are good stories. You just meet them, you share your faith, and they come. There are some stories where it's like the couple is about to break, trying to get a divorce, and to see them reunited again, and to see them understand the meaning of forgiveness, to be impacted by the cross, and to see the love again to be restored, and now seeing their kids studying the Bible, that itself is, for me, only God can do that. So that's not a human effort. That's God, and so that brings so much joy for me too as well. So I would say the fellowship, and to seeing the impact of the fellowship, and to seeing families, how the gospel changes lives within families, and to see the couples, and to see families now, even their children. That for me is the big one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about island country churches is, and I'm not sure if I saw this much in the US, but I'm sure it happens. But like, just because island culture, they have lots of family. Like there's lots of them, and the trees are very connected. The family trees are very, very connected and big. And so I think, yeah, one of the biggest miracles that I love seeing in the island churches is, and in here is, when families become disciples together. So one person, so for example, in 2018, we had one team guy come out to an event, and he reached out to his mother, and then his mother reached out to her sister, and then the mother reached out to another cousin, family member, and that cousin is now in the full-time ministry here, actually, which is incredible and encouraging. And one of the others, they reached out to their father. The father became a disciple. He was the oldest.
And he just turned 85.
But he got baptized when he was, I think, 83. So it's just been encouraging, and now they're reaching out to their other sister, and it's just beautiful to see the connection. And yeah, they're connected to some disciples in Australia who are also from Papua New Guinea, but they live in Australia. Again, the family tree is big, so they're connected within their family tree in that way. So it's just cool to see families becoming disciples, and even unexpectedly, like having other family members in Australia that are already disciples as well. And so I think that's been, like, for me, the most encouraging and inspiring miracles I've seen here Yeah.
Mm. We were talking before the program began a little bit about Papua New Guinea. It's over 8 million people. It's one of the most diverse nations in the world with over 800 languages spoken. I mean, I was blown away by that. Most of the population's in the country. I think only 13% is in urban areas. So it's very, very, still very much in the country. And you're talking about being in the village life. One of the things that also stood out is I've read that New Guinea is one of the most dangerous places in the world. What can you tell us what it's like living there?
Yeah, PNG, such a diverse culture here, but we do have some, we do have our own battles and struggles, and most of this, in the sense where it's not safe with these, crimes that we hear of and we listen to, in the news. And most of it is coming from because of, just where the country is economically and where there is limited opportunities in the education system, employment, work in the workforce. And so when there is a decline, when there is lacking of opportunities, sometimes people tend to do things that they are not supposed to do. So most of that tends to come from that, and that's why you experience just crimes at all levels. Some the corruption is still a big issue here, and so to that sense, as far as safety is concerned, the places, certain areas, even within the city, you can go. It's safe, but you just have to go with a little bit of discernment.
Right.
Like, and you can't go to this place at this time. You can't drive to this place if you're alone. You need to know the people, or go with someone who's familiar with, the street or the suburb or the location. So yeah, I think everything. It's not like you just leave the house and you go, oh, I'm gonna go there. Let's go here. Let's. You just have to be wise. You gotta be organized, plan, go with a group of people. So yeah, because it's the land of the unexpected, and so that can also mean on the dark side of that too, the unsafe side of it. So yeah, so most of that tends, again, with the crime and most of the issues, they come from just because where we, as a country, where we are economically, there's limited opportunities, and so people tend to go to that direction. They steal or pursue, shortcuts. They want to do things to gain something for themselves too. So they tend to lean towards that, because of limited options. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I mean, I've heard this before, the statement that PNG is one of the most dangerous places in the world. And I think I would have to disagree a little bit with that, with the statement. Like, living here, even coming from America, coming here, obviously it's different. I have to be more cautious. I think particularly as a woman, I have to be more cautious.
Right.
I think Port Moresby. So Port Moresby is the city that we live in. It has become a bit more unsafe for women, I would say. I wouldn't say the rest of PNG. Like, I wouldn't say the whole I wouldn't, like, it's like saying the United States is dangerous because one part in the United States
Right.
is unsafe. Or there's a bunch of little parts in the United States. It's kind of like a pretty big statement to say. But I think generally, I think PNG as a whole, I wouldn't say is unsafe. I've been to a lot of places that we've traveled just on holidays or whatever, that I felt like I can freely walk around and I don't even have to be cautious. Like, it's just kind of, and I think when the country's given that label, it again, it kind of puts everyone in that category. So it's like people become fearful of traveling here. But it's a beautiful country. So I just want to let that be said on the record. It's a beautiful country. The people are beautiful. Obviously, every country has people who are put in unfortunate situations. And I think here, yeah, like what Felix was saying, education, just a lack of jobs, so many different things add to that factor, where people aren't really given that opportunity to, yeah, to be able to excel and like the opportunities that we have in other parts of the world.
Yeah, and it's usually with crimes, it's always the minority.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, people here are very friendly and approachable. Like you go out. That's a beautiful thing about PNG. So if you go out anyway, if you stop someone and you want to have a conversation, they will stop. They will listen to you. Like even if you want to bring up some, like if you want to talk about Christianity, people will stop and listen to you. There, there's you see the friendliness, the openness. Most of the time, they yeah, you can experience that kind of peace living community. It's just the minority sometimes where it just happens at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and one experience can just, that can just label everything negative.
Got it.
But yeah, people here are friendly and always looking out for ways to help and support in every way. So
right. So there's pockets, there's areas that are dangerous, but many areas that are just fine. Let's talk a little bit more about that. You guys are both kingdom kids. This is really cool. You guys both grew up in the church, and yet you're serving the kingdom of God. You're making disciples. What motivates you to serve in that way? Like, what's what gets you guys up in the morning where you go, man, I'm fired up to serve God in a challenging environment? I mean, even though it's probably not as bad as it's painted to be, it's a challenging environment economically. Let's start with Ashley. You came from the States. I go, whoa, that's pretty gutsy to leave comfortable environment and go to a more challenging situation.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, even before moving here, I told my mom that I was moving here, and all she said was no, 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 no. And she's a disciple.
gonna hear it.
But I think for me, it really coming to the decision to move here was something I felt like I had fears, and but I felt like if I was going to choose to listen to fear or to be faithful, to have faith about it, then if it's just fear that is keeping me from moving here, then that's not being faithful or having faith. So I moved here, and I think for me, I think what has motivated me is God's mission. I think I love moving around. I love culture. I love experiencing different cultures. And I think moving here was something that was scary, but it was something moving here as a single woman, even not knowing if we would work out, I think I just loved going on adventures with God, and I love seeing him work in ways that even work through my fear, be able to surprise me, look, you were fearful about this, but look how amazing it is. And I just enjoy just experiencing different churches. And so I think what has motivated me the most is just being able to adventure with God and to go where he says to go. And no matter what. And I obviously I left America. I was working in the healthcare system, and I have a degree, and I could have been doing a lot of other things, and but I just loved this life. I'm grateful that God brought me here, even though it wasn't my decision at all. to move to PNG in particularly. But I just love that how God has helped me to see so many different things that I would have missed out on had I not moved here. So
Wow.
that's what motivates me.
Yeah, I think just love for Christ. You as years go by, and you grow, and you grow more in the knowledge of Christ and in the grace of Christ. So I think that's the thing that really inspires me. The more I study His Word and I study His scriptures, there is a longing and desire to do more for His kingdom. So I think the thing that really, I think that's the number one thing. Another one for me would be I think there was a need for the church at that time. To be honest, ministry was not my. I remember many years ago, when I was in college, a brother told me, "Hey, bro, you can lead this church one day." In my mind, I was outside. I was like, "Yeah, sure," but in my mind, it's like, "Man, that's the last job." This is like this is boring. Like it's okay. I can be a disciple. Interesting enough, a few years later, I followed the path, to full-time ministry. But I think for me, when the calling came for me in 2014, I think that the first thing was the need. I saw the need. So there was, a few brothers have come and gone, and Tony and Tasha Williams from Richmond Church, and then Brian and Shane Peckings from Louisville. And then, we had some local leaders, and then we had Walker and Lara from Brisbane. And at that time, when I was asked, I was like, no, let me take some time to think about it. And so as I prayed more and got advice, I felt like I think there is a need, where are we going again? Are we going to get another expatriate, someone outside to come again? So, all those things coming into mind. And so I thought, well, let me just give it a shot. And if it's God's will, I'll continue. And if it's not His will, then He Himself will remove me. So, but I think above all else is really, I had heroes in faith. I had brothers, I think because I was privileged enough to grow up and to see Tony. These are some of my, I really look up to this man of God. They're still faithfully serving in the local churches, but I really looked up to them. I've heard stories about them, just living their life in America, and coming down here. So why not? Like, why not? If these guys, they left their comfort zones to come here, even with their wives, and I thought that why can't I step up, And so I had that's a contributing factor. So love for Christ, and just seeing the need, but at the same time I had role models who in the faith, they were like my heroes, and I saw the way they served, I saw the way they preached, I saw the way they loved deeply. And so that was something that I saw when they left, that left a big impact on my heart. So that made the request to be in the ministry full time, that made it very easy, because I had some people to look up to, and that they were like a motivating factor too as well. So that was a huge one too.
How do you do the ministry with a kid, and now you're pregnant with the second one? How do you do ministry with COVID going on, and then there's security challenges, safety issues? How do you manage it?
I mean, with the kid, so this is our second year with the kid. So my son is 2. And it was challenging, honestly, to adjust. I think for the both of us, because I think Felix is very, men who lead churches are not people who just sit back and,
right.
They're busy. They're constantly, wanting to do things and on the go. And I think going from being, just us to a child is also different, because now you have another responsibility. And it's not just the wife's responsibility. So I think that has been like the most biggest transition and challenge in the transition is like sharing that load, or sharing, being able to share that responsibility. But for me, I've done a lot of, I think within COVID, I've done a lot of phone calls, and particularly when we've been in lockdown, and even now, I try to do more phone calls or Zooms or FaceTimes. But then, Felix drives me around, like we drive together, particularly if I'm going to somewhere where I don't feel comfortable parking and walking around by myself. So yeah, we kind of do things a lot together at times as well.
Good.
And then his parents are here and our disciples, so they watch our son.
Nice. Your parents must be so proud of you guys. I bet your parents just gush about you, both of you guys, that you guys are so strong in your faith and that you're doing all this for God. I mean, it just must blow their minds. If I were your parents, I'd be like, look at my kids. These guys are amazing. What are you excited about going forward? After when the COVID ends, I know you must be a dreamer. Felix, what are your plans for the future? You've got a really challenging, situation where you've got your population spread over the island in small groups. How are you going to reach the island? What's your idea?
Yeah, well, for now, I mean, yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah, that's been on this past few weeks, I would say, or even months. What's been on my heart is to train more leaders. So I wanna stay focused on that. I've set up a time frame between now and 2030. I hope to at least raise up. I mean, not just for the guys, but even with couples, and we really want to train more men and women in the ministry. That will be the big one for me. And just men who, that's our prayer, that men will have desire for his kingdom, God's kingdom, and for his glory, for his name, and to see his word being proclaimed and declared, faithfully. So that will be the number. I wake up every morning thinking about that. I write that down in my notebook. I don't know, my notebooks are filled with that vision. I'm thinking, dreaming. I got Thomas, because now Thomas is now a full-time staff, and I said, we have only 3 responsibilities. Number 1 is stay faithful to the word, and then to the flock and to the mission. So, but the part where, in the word is very significant. So, we want to become, men who are, men of the word. So that's been on my heart and mind, and every day, I'm thinking about it. I want to raise more men, and we'll see where the Lord will take us from there. So that's it, been on my heart. Yeah, I don't know, maybe Ashley can share too.
I mean, to be honest, I'm just excited about eventually meeting all together again, because I think, just for the past 2 months, we haven't been doing that. We've been doing it in house churches, and it's just a different feeling here when, I think overseas, house churches are great, and being able to connect with people is there's a lot more ways that you can connect with people. But here, because again, some people don't have phones or things like that, so it's challenging, and so I just miss being with everyone together. And so I think I'm really excited about being with everyone together. I recently also started this women's training group, and just excited where that will go next year, and praying to be able to train up some deacons in the future next year, and
right.
Dreaming about that. And because we have a lot of great couples here in the church who have been here for so long, over 20 years, and have been faithful. And just being able to think about, okay, we need some deacons, we need some elders eventually, and so that's something that we've been discussing a lot recently. And so yeah, I'm just looking forward to that, all those things.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. I certainly feel the same way. I want to meet. We do meet on Sundays back together, but not everyone's come back, together. And I'm praying that everyone will come back, and most people will come back. And that's what I'm praying about, and will not drift away. But it's challenging. It's certainly challenging, especially as a leader, because you really realize you're not in control, events are beyond your power. How do you stay encouraged? What are you guys doing to keep yourselves pumped up, through a challenging time? Anything you guys are working on just to encourage each other?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we encourage each other a lot. We try to just enjoy. We try more often to pray together. And I think very importantly to maintain the friendships around us.
Right.
Because full-time ministers, sometimes it's a lonely
Yep.
lonely journey. So I think that's number one, just staying connected with family and friends. And I think, something that me and Ashley, I brought this up, just to make sure that we are enjoying the ministry. We're not in control. God is sovereign and we're not sovereign. And this is God's church. And I think just stay focused on being faithful in our responsibilities, but try not to be in charge or control, and because that's just going to put a lot of burden. And so, yeah, we just, even during this not lockdown, but this new measure that, that's a bit restrictive to, our gatherings, a number of meetings, with disciples. I think just waking up each day or each week, planning out our schedule and okay, this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do that. This, even with the guys, we're reaching out every week, every Wednesdays and Thursdays. We go out, we pick a place around the town and just go share our faith. Just wear our masks, just go and randomly talk to anyone and
Right.
everyone. So the brothers, we're trying to do that, and Ashley's doing something with her group. They've been doing some activities and some women's fitness, and but due to that new measure that's come out, that's kind of like just a bit of a hole there. But yeah, I think just staying focused on what's important and try not to overthink ministry.
Right.
Keep it simple. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It's really tough as a leader to not feel unsettled, especially when you're not in control, and it's really challenging. So I appreciate that. I benefit from what you're sharing there. Just to close, what advice would you give to those who want to make this life count?
I would say don't let fear or uncertainty or your plans, what you think should happen, keep you from doing what God wants you to do. And always live a life that is guided by God and directed by God, not you just communicate with God what you want to do and then expect him to follow along, but really allow God to guide your steps, and to be able to dream big and do crazy things for God.
Yeah, I think for me, my favorite scripture will always come from Philippians 1 verse 21. For me, to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. And so you wake up each day thinking, how can I live for his glory? So that would be my what advice would you give to those who want to live a life that counts? Man, go for it, go all in for God. There's the world there's so much, people are making up so much truth out there, but the scriptures is the only absolute relevant final truth, and people need to hear the truth. Mm-hmm. And to me personally, that I feel like sometimes, this is my own opinion, I feel like the world is winning. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to give that advice to Christians, I would say go aggressive, mm-hmm. and go radical. Mm-hmm. There is no better time than to step up and to serve in our respective local churches, ministries, campuses, wherever you are. Make it count, make Christ known, preach the word, declare his scriptures, proclaim, from the rooftops. I would, it just seems like the world is winning. So that would be my be my advice. Dream big for His kingdom and do great things. Go for it. So that would be my advice.
I love your attitude. You are a true Christ-like leader. That's awesome. If someone were listening and they wanted to support you either through prayer, financially, or maybe even wanted to go there, how would they reach you and how could they contact you?
We don't have a church website, but we're on Facebook. And Felix is on Facebook. I am not, but I am on Messenger. And we have emails that you can contact us on if you'd like, WhatsApp as well, all the social medias. And so, we'd love to have people come. Please come to PNG. It's great. And the church would be so encouraged. And you'd leave encouraged. So, and financially, we have church accounts, whichever ways.
If people want to give, that information is available. They can email us or contact us. But I think we do have plans for the lay church. So we've kind of like visited once. We plan to visit again. It's a second largest city in the country. We do have plans. We are currently now training a couple, and potentially, hopefully, God willing, that they will be the ones to, that's always the heart, that people will raise their hands to go there. So
right,
we're working closely with them, and we're hoping in the next few years we'll send a mission team to lay. So if they want to give, that they can give to that cause. We really want to see that dream to come to a reality, and they can give to that too as well. So, but they can reach us through email, social media, or the Facebook page, Port Moresby Church of Christ.
Okay, great. Well, I'll put that information in the notes for the podcast. Thank you so much for your time together today. You guys it's inspiring what you're doing, and I'm just praying for all the best for you guys going forward.
Rob, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share, and we're grateful, and thanks for what you're doing, and you're doing a fantastic job, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining the Rob Skinner podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please hit the subscribe button and let your friends know about it and how to find it. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, live a no regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.